Good morning. We'll be starting in just a moment. Well, all right. I'm seeing a lot of wonderful attendees join us, and we're also excited. We're going to be streaming on Facebook Live today for the first time. So hopefully we'll have some people stumble across that and enjoy our broadcast there as well. But to get things underway, I am Danielle Casey. I'm the Executive Vice President here with the Greater Sacramento Economic Council, and I get the easy and fun job of giving you just a little bit of housekeeping and introducing some of our speakers. So speaking of housekeeping, this webinar is being recorded. So after today's program, if you want to go back and check on some of the data or information, we will be sending a post-webinar survey to attendees, and there will be a link to the recording. And we will also place a copy of that link on the events page on our website, so you can always find it there in the future. If you have technical issues during the program today, please use the chat function. We'll be monitoring that for anybody having issues or general questions. But if you have questions for the speakers, please put it in the Q&A area. If there are questions at the end of the program that we don't address in the normal conversation, then we'll see about following up with people who have great thoughts or comments. If there's time at the end of the program, we'll try to address them as well. So for today, we are proud to partner again with HGA to produce this week's webinar. HGA has surveyed more than 3,500 professionals across generations from a wide range of industries and folks that are working in various roles to get a deeper understanding about the future of the workplace, both in terms of the employee experience, which we've been speaking about a lot lately, as well as expectations from employers. What are they expecting from their employers? Last week, we had a very engaging program where HGA presented this data in depth and the 5 key pillars identified through the research, which include authorship, quality, fellowship, membership, and resilience. So today's webinar is going to dive into what each of those pillars really mean for the future of the office space in a more conversational manner. So as a quick refresher for those who missed last week, I'm going to invite Heather Kampa with HGA. She's going to give you just a brief high-level recap of the 5 pillars that were uncovered in this data. And while we swap over to her content, just want to tell you a little bit about Heather. As the corporate principal for HGA's Sacramento office, her focus is on the built environment and how it affects the health and well-being of its inhabitants. With this onset of COVID-19, the emphasis is especially important as we equip our clients to embrace change through innovation, tactical solutions, and design that's people-centered and focused on both the emotional and physical safety of the workplace. And Heather believes that the best solutions come from a lens of empathy, listening to each client to provide strategic planning and reframing traditional thought methods on workplace design. So this is really fascinating material. She's an extremely well-accredited professional. It denotes her expertise in human health and wellness in the built environment. And she is also a certified interior designer. Oh, good to know. And holds an evidence-based design accreditation and certification. So Heather, please bring us up to speed on this data. And Heather, I'm not getting your audio for some reason, and we're getting those notes from some folks. So we just want to.
Thank you so much. I was on
Perfect.
mute, so.
Got you. All right, we got the sound check. There you go.
So if that's not one of the top reasons we should be going back into the workplace, I don't know what is. But thank you, Danielle. I really appreciate your introduction. And we're going to briefly touch on the details that we provided last week. Can you hear me now? Okay. And I think what we're going to be talking about today is something that we've all been talking about for some time now, and we're going to be talking about in the future for some time. I think we have a bright future and innovative future, and I think it's going to be different. It's going to be different than the past, and I think that there's a third way of working that we're going to see come into play next year and the following years as we look at how workplace has changed now. So these are some stats from the survey that we did. We, like Danielle mentioned, we reached out to over 3,600 participants, and we did this survey early on in the pandemic. So we really got responses that were really relevant to going from being in the workplace and then working from home and what that environment was like. So we wanted to find out how people were actually faring in the work from home environment world, and then how we would take those insights and clues and qualitative and quantitative research that we did with them and reimagine the workplace for the future. So again, just to touch base on what Danielle mentioned, we used insights to create 5 core insights that would, again, provide us very strategic ways of developing the workplace for the future. And Trina's going to be talking specifically about how they're doing it. And so the first one is authorship. As Danielle mentioned, people are appreciating controlling their own workday and being able to work from home and their work hours, but they also appreciate the autonomy, the authorship, and the trust from their leadership to do this. The second core insight was quality, replacing stress with delight. By working from home, people are allowed to take high quality restorative breaks, being that they can do it wherever they'd like. They can take a rest in their bed, or they can spend some time with their family. They can prepare for dinner. It's really they're being able to create their own qualitative time. The third one is fellowship. People appreciate the focus and control of working from home. However, they're not receiving the fellowship and collaboration that they receive in the workplace. So their primary motivation, we're finding, is that returning to the workplace is so that people can be together, collaborate, and really innovate together. The fourth one is membership. What we're noticing in the survey was that the majority of the people who want to return to the office more significantly sooner rely heavily on that face-to-face time. So we're noticing that senior leadership or directors really rely on that those meetings and that collaboration and face-to-face time, and they're really ready to come back to the office sooner rather than later. The fifth one, and just something that I'm personally noticing that I've really thought about, is the resilience. We've adapted to something completely different than what we're used to. People are working from home, and over time, they have created positive ways of working through their day that are significantly different than what we did 6 months ago. And then as far as the long-term strategy, what HGA is proposing and really encouraging is not this phased approach of where, okay, we're working from home now, this is going to drop significantly. We want to get people back into the office, let's get them back in, and then that is going to kind of go through a phase. And then we're going to look at how can we reimagine the workplace to address all these perks that people are getting from the work from home environment. But what we're really encouraging is it to be something in this diagram down here where work from home is not going away. So although everybody is working from home right now, it'll decrease. People will want to get back into the workplace, but there's still going to be that ability to have flexible work hours and the flexibility to work from home so they're not dealing with commuting every day. So there'll still be some of that because people are really enjoying it and having a quality experience with it. But here we are entering back into the workplace, which is significantly important. And we're also starting to prototype and innovate on how the workplace looks different and incorporating those things that people are really enjoying from working from home.
All right, awesome. And I know Heather is going to share a link at some point in the chat before the end of the program today that'll take you to that data online as well. So thank you for the recap. Now that everything's fresh in our brains, I'm excited to hear how everybody's speakers today are finding these pillars, are finding them applying to the day-to-day operations of their organizations. So moderating today's program, so essentially doing all the hard work today, is going to be Linda Grandlund, the managing partner at Experis here in Greater Sacramento. She is managing principal of the California region, actually, and has more than 25 years of overall experience delivering professional resourcing and technical project teams to clients across a broad spectrum of industries in every major market across the US. She's been an active leader in the Sacramento business community over the past 15 years, partnering with businesses of all shapes and sizes to provide agile workforce solutions and technical expertise. This helps accelerate their business and addresses the changing workforce and workplace priorities. So extremely topical to her experience today. During these unprecedented times, she's actually been able to very expertly guide her teams within Experis to find borderless, I love that phrase, borderless talent across geographies as companies are just continuing to expand their remote workforce and also their work from home opportunities. So with that, Linda, thank you so much for your time today and for agreeing to moderate. I'll pass it over to you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Danielle. That was a wonderful introduction. I'm really excited to take part in this conversation today. Before I introduce the panelists, I'd like to share with you a survey that we do on a quarterly basis as an organization. It is called our MEO survey, which stands for Manpower Group Employment Outlook Survey. And we just completed our survey for Q3, and we too found so much alignment with what Heather has shared earlier. We surveyed over 8,700 people with a variety of questions. And one question that I wanted to share with you today was when we asked Americans what concerned them most about returning to the office outside of health concerns, the number one answer was definitely keeping their job, 91%, but closely, number two was losing the flexibility that they gained during this crisis. More people want to work a couple days remote versus working remote full time. And again, it lends to that membership core insight that Heather was sharing as well. Folks, they enjoy controlling their workday. The trust that they've built with their employer is so important to them. And that they've built within their team. The ability to have that flexibility to do their jobs, which has resulted in an increased overall performance. So we've seen that as well. We are seeing somewhat of a separation between the workforce and workplace on both the employer and employee side. But as I mentioned, this really speaks to a couple of those core insights that Heather described: authorship, quality, and membership. So with that said, I just thought I would share that nugget with you, as Manpower Group is a global organization, and the ability to capture this information on a quarterly basis helps us as an employer and facilitator of technical talent throughout the United States and globally, but it really helps us ensure that we're supporting our employees properly, and equally important, delivering to the many clients that we do throughout the US. It definitely is interesting times. So without further ado, why we're here is to hear from our experts. So what I'd like to do is start by introducing the speakers. And I would like to give them a moment to tell us a little bit about their backgrounds. So first we have Trina Ellis, who is the Director of Facilities with PowerSchool. I heard she also has a really cool job as well, where she is the head of morale and spirit for PowerSchool. So Trina.
Hello, good morning, everybody. So so I'm Director of Facilities for PowerSchool, and in May I just celebrated 20 years. So we've been acquired and sold and bought multiple times over that time period, so lots of change and transformation. And then I'm also president of the local chapter of IFMA, which is the International Facility Management Association. So a lot of what you're going to hear about from me today is a lot of best practices that I've learned through, because prior to PowerSchool, I was with CBRE. And so I've been getting a lot of information from CBRE and from all of the different colleagues that I have in my IFMA association to implement into PowerSchool. And as maybe some of you don't know, PowerSchool is distance learning. We have a distance learning platform. So all of our employees are successfully working from home. And it's been a wild ride so far. So that's it for me.
Thank you, Trina. I know many of us with children are using that distance learning platform, and so I'm sure we all can relate. So you guys are extremely busy and critical right now for our youth. So thank you. Next, I'll go ahead and reintroduce Heather. I know that we had a lovely introduction in her bio in the beginning, but Heather, please feel free to share anything else you'd like to with us.
Sure. Yeah. So I am the corporate principal in our Sacramento office. I work with our San Jose and San Francisco office on a Northern California basis for workplace strategy and research as well. And HGAS2, we have 11 offices across the nation, and we are primarily working from home right now.
Thank you. Great to have you today and all this fantastic information. And then not least, of course, or not last, I should say, Torres. He is the Global Digital Transformation Executive with Salesforce. So Angel.
Oh, hi, Angel Torres here. Basically manage digital for many, many global companies to the point where now I do exclusively for FinServ for Salesforce. So basically sitting with CEOs, CIOs, CTOs, heads of retail, and figuring out kind of how they make technology and processes help them achieve their business goals. And so as you can imagine, right now, that's even more important than normal. And we'll talk about it in a sec, I guess.
Fantastic. Thank you. Are you sitting in Sacramento as well, or are you in the Bay?
I'm actually in Florida.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, great to have you coast to coast.
Yep.
All right. Well, we will go ahead and jump into our first question. And it is around that first core insight, authorship. So results from the study show employees working from home are enjoying an increased sense of control and trust by working from home. So the question is, how can employers instill a sense of authorship and ensure employees maintain a sense of autonomy after returning to the office? So I'm going to go ahead and ask Heather if she'll kick us off on this question.
Okay, so I can show a slide from our survey results as well. And what we're calling it is a third way of working, because I think what we've all learned is that there is an ability to do both, work from home or remotely, as well as working in the office. But in terms of innovating our workspace, there are things like actually providing ways where people can author their own day by taking their breaks the way that they want to, and at times where are most valuable to them. So it becomes, again, a much more flexible day for them. Another thing that we're seeing is providing specific activities that can only be done in the workplace. So it will bring people together perhaps once or twice a week, or specific activities throughout the year that gather people together and really help motivate them and increase the culture for the entire firm or the company. And then other ways is we're still looking at how we can prototype and innovate workspaces, where of course the number one factor is to provide that safety and wellness aspect.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Heather. Trina or Angel, do you have anything to add in terms of what your organization might be doing or thinking about? I know that we haven't quite gotten there yet, and there's phased approaches into reentry, but is there anything that your organization might be looking to do to make sure that your employees have that autonomy once they do return to the office?
So what we're doing is we are making sure that employees have the ability to, at the beginning, we are doing it in a different, kind of like a continuum phased approach like Heather's, but we're doing it over lots of time to where it doesn't feel like phases. So what we are doing that is we're trying to make sure that employees know that we're being ultra flexible and that we are providing workstation equipment and chairs so that if they do decide to come back to the office, that they can keep all of their equipment at home and they can have that flexibility to work wherever they need to. So we have beautiful Aeron chairs at most of our locations. And so that was heartbreaking for me to have people take those out of the building, but we are okay. We have them all logged. And so, but we're telling everyone you don't have to bring it back and you can just, we'll find you something else to sit in when you come back. So that's kind of what a piece of what we're doing.
Great. Comfort is important as well.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Why don't we go ahead and move to the second question, unless Angel has anything to add? All righty. So our second question is around that core insight of quality. Given the current circumstances, mental health and employee morale are more important than ever. According to this data, employees' ability to take restorative breaks have proven to be critical for increasing their satisfaction and preventing burnout among employees. That's so important. What are the ways employers can ensure that employees are having the opportunity to take restorative time away from work once they return to the office? So how can we ensure that? So Angel, why don't we go ahead and have you start this question, if that's all right?
Yeah. So actually, this is, so as a side gig, I actually do comics around digital transformation and banking for fun. My days of wanting to be a painter, but my father wanted to be me to be a lawyer, so I became a lawyer. And so this is how I see work being in 2019, and it's really not that different, other than, you know, my two kids and my dog running around while I do these type of engagements. And to that point, I think and Salesforce has been amazing at doing that since before, that there has always been a mindful room or certain spaces set aside for people to kind of just, you know, breathe and think and, you know, get repose from the day to day. And some people take those kind of like quiet spaces and quiet rooms to do that. Others have treadmill desks that literally have a treadmill at their stand-up desk and they work that way. So I think Salesforce has done a really good job of just, you know, adapting and offering options to all different types of people.
Great, thank you. Trina, Heather, do you have anything to add on this question as well? How will you ensure that your employees are taking those breaks that they need to continue that balance of mental health?
So Heather, I'll just go really fast, but we do, so we have the benefit at our headquarters office in Folsom to be right on the river, right on the bike trail. So employees already take restorative breaks and have the opportunity to do that. Some people kayak to work and kayak home. Some people ride their bikes to work. So a lot of time, I think we already have that set, and we have a culture, we have a group called Power Health that encourages that type of, you know, making sure that you're taking those restorative breaks consistently, and managers are encouraged to make sure that their employees are doing it.
Yeah, and I'll just add, I mean, I agree completely with Trina and Angel in terms of providing amenities. That's extremely important. I think staff is really expecting that now, you know, as part of their job that they're taking. In order to retain employees, you're going to have to provide these amenities moving forward. And yeah, I mean, I would just say having that flexibility as well. I noticed in certain industries, the lunch hour has gone away, the lunch hour break. So maybe bringing that in, you know, as a better guide to provide people with actual breaks that they're taking every day, not scheduling lunch meetings, you know, not scheduling mandatory things during that time would probably help in that qualitative, providing a quality break time for each person.
Right, and another thing too is the adjustment of everyone working from home. And because PowerSchool is so busy right now, people are working crazy hours past normal hours. And so we encourage folks to take those restorative breaks now. While, like, if you have a conference call that doesn't require that you're on camera or that you're speaking, but you have to participate, take a walk during that time. Go and, you know, sit out in the backyard or do something to where you're not sitting in front of your computer all day. Just take it from your phone and take a walk. So we are encouraging that as well.
Yeah, and I would agree with that as well. I mean, the individuals that work for Experis, we are all remote currently and have not begun that return back into the office. And so I'm constantly sharing with my teams, you know, the importance of getting up, whether it's, you know, taking a walk with your kid, taking your dog for a walk. I have an employee who loves to play chess. I don't say play a whole game because that might take 12 hours, but, you know, play a couple rounds, do a couple moves. But that is so important, you know, and for us to remember the quality of these breaks that we're all having right now is helping us become more balanced. Better rested, because when you're at work, you don't really take a true break. You know, you might walk around the office, but you always get brought back into business in a business conversation, or you have that guilt of taking a break when you're so busy. So we've been able to see individuals be more well-rested, contribute at a higher level, and ultimately be more efficient and productive because of that balance. So that's a very important core insight that you guys uncovered, Heather. So moving to the third question around fellowship, that really, you know, the ability to belong to something and want to be together, I think is so important. Many companies are starting to announce their return to work plans, and even that they're going to continue to work from home into 2021. And some even indefinitely. So that's something that could happen. Others, as we heard from Trina, are considering their flexible work schedule, work from home, when to return to the office. But the results from the study show that the biggest part of the traditional office life and culture that employees are currently missing is the ability to organically interact with their coworkers, the ability to collaborate, the ability to sit down and work through challenges, issues, create projects, whatever that might be. So as working from home, that continues to play a significant role and into the future. So with that said, and we'll go ahead and start with Trina here, if that's okay, Trina. What are some ways that employers can ensure employees maintain a sense of community and collaboration among their colleagues while they're working from home?
So as you mentioned earlier, I am in charge of spirit and morale as well. And I know a lot of companies are doing this. Everybody's doing the happy hours and doing, you know, we do happy hours in 3 different time zones. And then I have sites across the US, 1 in Canada, and then I have 2 sites in India. And so my India spirit team is the most amazing spirit team. They have like morning Zumba. They have, so they incorporate exercise into the different events. And then tons of other engagement activities in India, different times of the day. And in the US and basically North America, we do the happy hours in 3 different time zones. So we joke around that people are joining the earlier time zone a little too early in the day. But we have an amazing culture at PowerSchool. So one of the big events for us, it's very heartbreaking because our property in Folsom has an amazing back patio. And we have not had one party because our St. Patrick's party got canceled just before COVID hit, and we all shut down and we missed our St. Patrick's party. So what we're doing is Halloween is a huge time for PowerSchool across all sites. And so we are doing a kind of a spirit week that week. We've done multiple spirit weeks as well, so that on all Zoom calls, people can represent and have themes for different things. And we also had, back in June, we had Quarantine's Got Talent, and we had 80 folks participate in that. And then for Halloween, we're going to do a spirit week again with, we have a Toastmasters group that's going to be inviting everybody to tell scary stories on one of the days. And then we are doing Halloween on the day before Halloween, we're doing a costume contest, a talent show, and then we're going to do a drive-by candy giveaway for employees' kids. That's going to happen at Folsom, and then we're going to do something different at each site that, you know, can participate. So it's been tough because what I've been saying is all of the introverts are happy as can be right now because they're working from home, but all the extroverts really need that human interaction, and it's been really tough for a lot of them to not be able to come to the office and collaborate and have meetings face to face. So trying to have that engagement, and a lot of people have Zoom fatigue, as we all do, but we're trying our best. We throw the programs out there. If people participate, they participate. If they don't, they know it's there, and we encourage everyone to participate. I hope that answered the question. That was long.
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds like you guys have a lot of fun over there. I will certainly attest to your back patio. It's beautiful. I've had the opportunity to be there a time or two. But I also will, just say if we don't have a head of morale and spirit within our organizations, we certainly need to, because the things that you're just sharing with us are so important. And the fact that you've been able to continue those, instill those, and during this crazy time, I'm sure once the return to work or return to office continues for PowerSchool, those are even going to get stronger. So you're doing some great work there.
Thank you.
You bet. So Heather, Angel, would either of you like to chime in here?
So yeah, I'll step in. So yeah, we at Salesforce, we actually practice what we preach, in that social distancing has obviously severely limited collaboration, your ability to collaborate physically. But there's things and options that are beyond just email and Zoom. So examples are, in our case, we use Chatter a lot. We use Quip a lot. And those are solutions that allow us to leverage technology to keep in touch with each other in a way that gets us moving in the same direction, but also allows us to recognize each other's, contribution to an effort, above and beyond this, right? And that's a term. We can assign each other badges, like thank you badges. We can say good job to X or Y or Z individual from a team that contributed to, X result. That can get scaled up 3 levels, 4 levels up. So there's visibility, which then allows, an SVP or someone even higher to kind of congratulate that individual. So it seems minor, but it makes individuals feel at the, like the time has been taken out to distinguish them and to show that even though we're remote and even though we're using technology as a connector, we do appreciate the human behind the screen. And that's, I think, the most important thing. Like, technology is the vehicle, but we still know that it's important to be empathetic and be aware of our employees.
That is so true. Thank you. Heather, would you like to add anything here?
Yeah, I think that one thing that we need to keep doing is mentorship. We're used to having mentorship in our workplace, and it tends to happen organically, naturally that way. But once we moved to work from home, it felt very disconnected. So still doing mentorship, having small mentors and mentee groups that are meeting, again, through Zoom or virtually, has shown to be very helpful in maintaining a sense of importance and collaboration between each other.
Yeah, it's so important to continue those business pieces as well. The happy hours and the games and all that is fantastic, but not everyone likes to participate in that and is more, wants to stay within that business mind. So I agree with you on that mentorship. Something that we've done within our organization is we have stood up, especially during this time, a lot of BRGs, so business resource groups, and a lot more around health and wellness and doing group events and group conversations around diversity and inclusion. And people, this is what we have found, is this gives people an additional sense of belonging and something to contribute to. Because with everyone working from home, over 10,000 individuals plus working from home, you have that piece of isolation where you're used to going into an office every day. You're used to having that fellowship around you. And by getting individuals involved in a large variety of these BRGs, it gives them that ability to contribute and to belong. So we have found that to be great as well. All right, we're going to move to our final question. I see there's a couple questions coming through as well. which is great because we will most likely have time to address those. So our final question is really, excuse me, around membership. And so, you know, people want to return to the office because they, as we discussed earlier, rely on those face-to-face interactions. So whether you're collaborating with a sales team or a project team, yes, we can do that over Zoom or Teams, but it's so much easier to be able to whiteboard and to sit there and share ideas and collaborate when you are face-to-face. So, excuse me, because we have not been able to quite return yet to the office, how will employers determine who returns to the office and when? Is it going to be those individuals that rely on that collaboration, that need that collaboration as a day-to-day piece of their work, or will it be different for different organizations? So if we can start with you, Trina, we'd love to, or I'm sorry, Heather, we'd love to hear kind of what the survey shows, what you're finding on how people return, who will return first, and possibly when.
I think, you know, we're thinking about a few things in our research right now, and what the survey has told us is that the people that are most interested in getting back to the office quicker tend to be executive leadership, you know, senior level directors, because they really drive on that face-to-face collaboration and leadership of their firm or their office. So that's one component. And we're also looking at the change management component. You know, taking everybody into work from home so quickly required, you know, great leadership in a company and the ability to, again, be resilient and transition quickly. And that's tough. There's a lot of different personalities, and I think we touched on this a little bit already. The emotional aspect of it is really significant. So I think there's a management component of phasing people into the office very strategically, and not just doing it, you know, willy wonky, but there's got to be a good strategy in that.
Yep, certainly. Certainly. Trina, do you have anything to add? I know that you've started, you mentioned you have a phased approach at PowerSchool. So where did you start, and what drove you to those decisions?
So back in April, I contacted now I'm not going to read this whole slide here. It's a lot going on. It's our 10-point plan basically for reentry. And at the heart of what we're doing, it's employee safety and comfort that we're really targeting, and making sure that employees are, you know, feel safe to return. And then our new normal is personal responsibility and company flexibility. And with that comes just ensuring that employees know how we're approaching this. And what we did is we formed a team with myself, my chief legal counsel, our VP of HR, and our VP of IT. And we formed a core group of, that's our, we call it the intimate team. And then we have a departmental representation. We opened it up to employees to participate in it as well, to provide input and give us, you know, what their fears were, what their concerns were, where we needed to really focus to make sure that employees felt comfortable. And so with this 10-point plan, you know, of course, we have to make sure that all the state, local, and the buildings in each region that I have across the US and in India, that they're open. And then, of course, all the health organizations, and then the building, or our executive leadership team has to sign off. And then we've, of course, prepared the space with signage and plexiglass and all the wonderful, you know, sanitizers and PPE. And then we're approaching it in a phased approach. And the phase that we're entering in now, right now, today, if an employee comes to us and says, look, I have, because we are at a point, if that office is at a point where, which all of our offices are at a point where we can re-enter now, except for India, because there is a spike in COVID in India right now. But we basically, if someone is having a problem where they are having productivity issues at home because of interruptions, and or their managers notice, we offer up to them that they can work from the office now if they choose. And so we slowly have folks trickling in. And then along with that, you know, we have surveys and training, and we've got a funny video that it's funny, but it's serious, to kind of introduce everybody to what the office is going to look like now, because we didn't want them to be shocked that all the chairs are removed out of the break room and all the chairs are off the patio and only one person can sit at a table. So we kind of have a video to introduce them into that. And then along with that, we of course have pushing personal responsibility. So we do have a contact tracing app that we are using called TIBCO or Gather Smart. And so we're right now in a beta version of that, to where employees, if they fill it out in the morning that they have no symptoms, they answer all the questions correctly, we get a notification and then their badge gets activated. So we're in a beta test with all the IT and facilities folks that have continued to go in, and then these sort of probably about 20 or so folks across the different sites that are coming in. And then we're going to enter into what we're calling the Empower phase, hopefully October, November. And that's just anyone who wants to come in can come in if they're having issues at, with not being productive, and they just really need to be in an environment in the building. And then we are not looking as a business to probably enter into the next phase we have is called Encourage, which we probably will not be at that Encourage phase until summer of next year. And so I think once people feel comfortable and see that others are going in, and we're letting it be a personal choice, managers, departments will not be saying you have to go in. It's a personal preference. And if you choose to come in only 2 days a week, you can, and you can work from home the rest of the time. So, and then the final phase is expect. And we don't know when the expect phase will be, but because PowerSchool's invested in a lot of buildings and a lot of infrastructure for, and so we don't want people, we're okay with people working from home. However, over time, we're looking for people to re-enter, because one of the things that's hard for me as a director of facilities is the fact that I build what I call recruiting tools. So our office is a recruiting tool. And right now we're recruiting without showing everyone the spaces and showing them, what we can provide for them on a day-to-day basis. And all the amenities that go with that. So there will come a period of time where we are going to be, even during that expect phase, we will be ultra flexible with folks that are doing distance learning at home or have circumstances that don't allow them to be productive or don't allow them to come to the office. And so this is kind of just a little snapshot of all the preparation we've done. So we have our population planning for space planning. We have all of our sanitation stations. You can't tell in this photo, it's a little blurry, but my plexiglass at all the entryways. We have plexiglass along very high traffic areas. And then we have our IT staff have kind of like a walk-up window where they can help folks if they need to work on their laptops. And then we've collaborated with our marketing team to make all of the signage with all of our PowerSchool colors and our distance learning, our distance markers on the floor. And then everyone that returns receives a copper safety key that has a stylus on the end and a hand sanitizer. So just kind of like welcome back to the office gift. So I know that was a lot, but yeah, so it's been a lot of work, and my team across all the globe has really stepped up to get the sites ready for everyone to come back, and we're anxious for it. It's hard being in in facilities right now because of, you manage buildings and there's no one in them. So it's a little tough. And then I want to add just talk about one other thing if you guys are okay with it, but I do have a site in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, where we acquired a company that owned a mall. And just before COVID, so I sold the building last year and negotiated a lease back for that space. And just before COVID, was ready to go did all the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, design, furniture, everything was ready to go out to bid. And COVID hit. And with this remodel, I was knocking every single wall down and opening it up, low cubes. It hasn't been remodeled since the 70s, so it really needed some love. And everything stopped. And I just got to start over again and literally had to start over again. So walls are staying up. Cubes are a different configuration and a different size. So it's really changed the way I build out my spaces, because a lot of them we've been doing open plan and that ultra collaborative approach. And so now it's kind of shifted the way we're looking at the way we design the spaces.
Wow, thank you, Trina. I mean, that was fantastic information. It's so great to have you as a panelist from the facility side, because your role has probably changed so much. Like you said, you don't have anyone in your facilities, so the things you're managing and you're standing up are so different, but yet so important. So important. I know that we have a COVID response team within the Manpower group as well. And the work, the messaging, everything that's done internally, and then all for our employees, and then also for the tens of thousands of consultants that are also our employees, but yet they're working for thousands of clients out there that are dealing with all of these issues as well. And then we have our messaging with our clients as well. So there's so much work that's gone into this. You know, our president really talks a lot about the new next and what is that going to look like, because it is going to be so different than anything that we've known, whether it's returning, whether it's around employees, whether it's around the new jobs that are going to be created and already being created because of this. So thank you for all of that insight. And we do have a question that came in around training and finding new talent from Facebook Live that I'd love to get to if we can. And so I'm going to open it up to whoever is brave enough to put themselves out there. But the question is, how are companies training or finding new talent for entry-level positions during this time? So I know that GSEC has done a lot around upskilling talent, but if anyone would like to talk about that, how are you finding and training new talent for entry-level positions during this time?
I'll put my 2 cents on that. So one of the things that, and again, and you know, software company, we have something called Trailhead. And so if you haven't heard of Trailhead, I highly recommend that you sign up. It's free. And it basically takes you on an online course of any of Salesforce's solutions. So I've seen people personally have zero knowledge of our product or of an offering, and upskill themselves remotely from their home digitally to the point where they get digital certifications and can show up to actually assist or intern or work with or be on one of our partners teams, such as, you know, like the Accentures and Deloittes of the world, because they've upskilled themselves. So outsourcing it to the individuals themselves is an option if you have the tools and the platforms to do so.
Yeah,
Yes,
the same PowerSchool, I'm sorry, the same with PowerSchool, like with Angel saying, is that PowerSchool, or with being a software company as well, we already have a very detailed online training program. So we have a whole training team. It's all they focus on, and they're doing a lot of it remotely. They were doing it remotely because we have so many sites. So we kind of already had a good with the remoteness and everything online. We do have a presence in our, and we have folks, so our CEO, of course, because we're headquartered out of Folsom. Prior to COVID, we would have our CEO come in because we have him once a month, and we call him new employee welcome. And so our CEO comes in, our CFO comes in, and our VP of IT comes in and talks through, and of course, all of the HR and talent team come in and talk. So there is a live aspect to it, but a lot of it is online learning and online training.
Sorry, I was on mute. Great, thank you very much. I agree with you. I mean, this is the time where upskilling is so important for individuals and for them to take that on, and for us as organizations to provide those tools to our entry-level folks so that they can learn, whether it's technology, business, whatever it might be, internal processes to help escalate and elevate their career and their knowledge and depth right now. That is so important. Heather, did you have anything to add there? All right. Okay. So Angel, I know that you wanted to, you know, give some commentary, and it sent me a chat. I'd love for you to throw that out there in terms of topic.
Yeah, so one of the things that we saw briefly in the other comic strip that was on the right that I couldn't speak to was a teacher taking children to a museum where they were seeing a cubicle in the museum, and they were asking what that was. Yeah, so to the right. And so she's asking, hey, what is this? And the kids don't know. And that's kind of alluding to what we always saw was going to happen. It's just this is accelerating that that forethought, or what we believed was going to eventually happen. And so the kids actually think it's an adult fort because they don't know what a cubicle is. And that's one of the things I see when I speak to, especially head of contact centers or COOs. The impression when we start our conversation of what they want to accomplish from a digital transformation point of view is, well, we have to get them back. We have to get this back. We have to have this resource or this type of resource here. And that is triggered by the baseline knowledge set of legacy systems, which aren't necessarily in the cloud, which are on premise, for instance. And that has security limitations, has risk limitations, has adaptability to the employee themselves limitations. And because of that, it was a no-brainer or a necessity to do that. But now I've seen and I've assisted in the migrating contact centers within 3 days. And so you have hundreds of employees from their house managing conversations with customers securely. And we're talking about PII financial services companies. So it's highly regulated, and you're still remaining within compliance, allowing for those interactions to be done, but done well in a way that doesn't jeopardize anyone's health. And that might make sense farther along than short term.
So your comment is really around why, right? Why return to the office if you don't have to?
Why? Because if the why, and every business and every industry will be different, and there'll be different necessities, but if the why is security, technology limitations, processes, those are easily you can overcome those today. Maybe not 10 years ago, but today you definitely can.
Mm-hmm.
Heather, I think you were going to say something.
I was just going to say that Angel's drawings are you're very talented, Angel.
Thank you so much. I wish I could do that full time. I'm trying to see if that happens one day. We'll see.
Awesome.
Thank you. Well, I believe those are all of our questions. I just want to again thank the Greater Sacramento Economic Council for allowing me to be involved in this meaningful conversation that's so relevant. I've enjoyed meeting and working with all of the panelists. Thank you, Danielle. I believe that there was some solid conversation, and I hope all the attendees have benefited in some way or brought some great ideas that they will learn of some great ideas that they will bring back into their organizations. So thank you for this wonderful survey, Heather, and the work that you're doing. So I'll go ahead and pass this back to Danielle.
Great. Well, thank you all again so very much. Thanks to all the attendees. And a little bit of a quick teaser and a plug. Keep an eye on the work that Greater Sacramento is doing over the next month, because we're going to be rolling out some really amazing tools for employers as they work to attract new employees to the region. That's going to be in the form of a really great employee experience website promoting the whole region, as well as tools on that site like a jobs board and cost of living calculator and other things. So please keep an eye on that. That's happening in October. So with that, thank you again to HGA for partnering with us on the webinar, for your data, for everyone in the program. Reminder that we will be sending a link to all of our attendees after the program. Please tell us how we did and suggestions for future topics, and you'll also get a link to the recording. And with that, for any final insights, thoughts, commentary, etc., as we like to do with these programs, I have the pleasure of introducing our Greater Sacramento Economic Council President and CEO, Barry Broom.
Well, thank you. That was a very exciting panel. And just on a closing note, one of the key things on the future of work is actually getting that work. So when we look at the social unrest that's going on across the country, it's really because we've hollowed out the middle class, and we got a system in which 50% of the people live in paycheck to paycheck. So hard to build a democracy around half the people just barely making ends meet. We're not going to change that in any other way than building real skills and real talent behind people. So one of the things we have done is we've launched our digital certification program with General Assembly and Merit this week. And we had over 1,400 applications come in within a day to participate in a certification program that included a stipend and a Mac or a laptop. So when we look at the future of our communities like Salesforce or PowerSchool, Google, we've got to do a better job at reaching into the depth of the community and pay attention to people that are being left behind so they can have an opportunity too. And you're going to find people are going to really step up, and you give them a chance to make $45,000, $55,000 a year. That's a much more inspiring way to lead your life than trying to train people with some simple skills and then try to explain to them why $18,000 a year is a success story. So as this market becomes more sophisticated, it also has to empower more people. So I want to thank Salesforce, Angel Torres, Trina. I want to thank everyone who's here, not only in our community helping us with the future of our region, but we have a chance to set some standards of excellence that can be modeled and implemented across the country. And I really feel like we're on the forefront of getting people trained in a way and empowered in a way that few communities have in the US. And we can change the whole narrative around inclusion in work. Not a social welfare objective. It's a human empowerment objective, and for the companies that participate in it, it's a productivity advantage. One of the things that you hear time and time again is how hard it is for people to find trained and skilled people. We can close that gap now with this new digital economy and do better than we've ever done before. So I loved all of the feedback on the future of work. I think you're going to find out that the greater Sacramento region is really on the rise, and we're seeing early signs of our data that our economy is becoming much more highly educated, much more sophisticated. It's much more resilient than it has been in the past. And that's due to all the collective work of the people in our community that are working together to put our foot forward. So I want to thank everybody, and I'm going to be knocking on PowerSchool's door and Salesforce's door to help these young people find jobs. And I hope that you will answer that call and give them an opportunity to be considered. But more importantly, have our entire community think about our future as something we share and participate in together. So it's going to be a great time to be in California. It's going to be the best time ever to be in Greater Sacramento. So I really appreciate everyone's time today.
Thank you.
Thank you.